traditional exercise programs, they're very difficult to put on. Sometimes they take years to put together. And what we need is a venue that's transportable, that we can actually set down in a local area, like the exercise that we're going to do today is here at the local level. Okay, it's easily repeatable, and it wasn't as much effort to put together. So it's kind of a prepackaged exercise. You set it down, you open it up, you invite people to it, and you experiment. And it's unscripted. So you don't have to worry about that interrelationship of the script, the reality of the scenario, and then the behavior of the people that are coming there. What you're able to do is keep it more dynamic so that people are forced to collaborate, forced to think outside the box, and forced to solve the problems that they face.
When we've got first responders and how the first responders come together and work, how we as the military would come in and assist them. And we've really got to sit down and look at things and how we make sure that we understand each other, ways we do things, so that becomes more capability, and each of us understands what we're able to bring to the event should something occur. Anytime you do the tabletop exercises, anytime you do field exercises, these are all help to enhance. But what we wanted to do with the simulation is really look at what else can we do.
We need to discover new ways, especially to explore complex and messy, for lack of a better term, relationships between our population, our government, and our region. And that is difficult to manage without some really good ground truth. And the simulation, we believe, is going to be able to provide us a certain amount of authentic data from which we can really generate some real decisions. And this isn't something that we're able to do internally. So for us, this brings a whole new dimension to really explore the complexity within our region.
First, again, looking downward, see how we can help a locality a little more, see how they would respond to things as a result of, as they're looking to try and see how they would respond to an event. We took that and were able to look and see what we could make adjustments to, or to at the state level, how we would respond. And again, us passing that information to the locality, so now they have a little better understanding how the state would do. And then of course, the DoD interface, the federal government, and in this case, a little more the DoD interface, what assets are available so that we can tap them.
It's going to be a learning process for everybody. For the Department of Defense, I think it's going to bring truth to power and really emphasize the needs of a local government during a catastrophe, what resources we really need, in what size and type that we need them, how they're going to be deployed, and most importantly, how they're going to be managed. Because we could certainly get overwhelmed at a major incident by too many resources.
It was a very successful exercise. It sounded like everybody had a broader understanding of what they were bringing to the table, what the role of the local government and the state government and the federal government and the Department of Defense is. I saw folks engaged, folks with really succinct feedback and a universal acknowledgement that, yeah, this was really essential and we need to be able to replicate this kind of activity where you put the big DoD assets and the Guard assets in with literally down to the local level first responders. It's the local first responders, they call first responders for a reason, they're going to be there when we have one of these WMD events or a series of them.
The biggest thing I think we took away from it is learning how the county and the state work together to feed up shortfalls to the federal partners and how that situation changes fluidly during their response. We realized that we had some stakeholders that weren't here that we really could have used their expertise. We spent a lot of time talking about movement of assets and pre-positioning assets and how to reroute the flow of traffic for people trying to get out of the area. So people like the state police, we think we would be essential to include next time. The Environmental Protection Agency plays a big role when we're talking about a radiological hazard in the environment.
This simulation actually, by having the federal and state and National Guard and military folks and all these different entities here, I'm actually seeing where that request, once it goes through my fax to the governor's office and goes up the chain, now I'm seeing how it actually goes into work at the federal level, at the state level. I see the notification process and I'm seeing the real processing of it from that end. So it's giving me a better appreciation of what exactly my trigger events initiate.
I'd like to see the documentation that comes out of this experience so that we can not only refine and reinforce our systems, but the purpose of exercises ought to be to test the knowns. What is it that we can expect and what gets challenged by what is admittedly some artificiality of the exercise, but nonetheless causes us to think in a different way about things that we might have been assuming prior to this exercise.
The laboratory is meant to be easily repeatable. We've paid very close attention to its scale, and we are trying to let the computer, the simulation itself, take the place of the script and the inject. The problem with the script and the inject is that it starts to make the scenario match the plan instead of the plan match the scenario. You've got to change that. The adaptive modeling laboratory is all about letting the simulation drive the play so that the emergent qualities of a disaster are allowed to come out in surprising ways, because it's those surprise events that are really going to cause us the most difficulty when the time comes.